Hey everybody, welcome back to the Building HVAC Science Podcast. This is a little bit longer episode and I do a lot of talking in it, so this intro will be very short. Let's just move into this episode where Eric flips the mic around and interviews me on the evolution of TruTech, my leadership philosophy, and why I'm shifting from CEO to CEO. You'll know what that means by the end of the episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Building HVAC Science Podcast. Eric Kaiser here, the great, the one, the only, Bill Spohn, sitting right over there. He's got a grin on his face today.
Shortwave, yeah.
Oh, shortwave. We're going back to shortwave. I like that. Shortwave, long distance communication, right?
There you go.
That's how shortwave works. It goes really long. On with the bad puns. Is that the subject of today's show, Bill?
That's not what you told me. I would have needed more time to prepare.
We don't have anybody but us in here today. And this was one I ran by Bill a few weeks back. And I'm going to interview Bill today about some things that he's done that I find unique at TruTech Tools and over the years that I've known him. We were just discussing, we're pretty sure we met in 2006.
Yep.
And that was at a small symposium that Jim Bergman hosted when he was teaching at a career center in, I'm going to go off memory here, Brecksville, Ohio?
That's correct. That's the city. It's Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, CVCC. Yep.
Wow. Okay. Maybe my memory's not so fuzzy, but there's a lot of things that are fuzzy about that. And we had a small group of us from a website that's been long since defunct called HVAC ProTech. And Jim invited all of us out there for, I don't know, we were there for 2 or 3 days the first time, I think. And we just had a bunch of us come in over a holiday break, as I recall, maybe spring break. And we showed up, we did airflow testing, we did combustion testing, we did all kinds of different stuff. And well, for me anyhow, it was that first meeting face to face with a lot of people that I had met online and talked with for a couple of years and really got to know a lot of people. And I couldn't even begin to tell you who all was at the first one because we had 3 there. We figured out we had at least 3 of those there. 2006, 2008, and 2010, I think.
I remember 06.
I know that I was there in 08 and 10 because I have t-shirts from those.
Okay. See, everybody, that's why you do t-shirts, to help your long-term memory.
Yeah, that's right.
T-shirt creators, be sure you put dates on your t-shirts.
Yeah, put your dates on your t-shirts. Put the year you gave it out. But that was a lot of fun. And that was a big nucleus for me of meeting people outside of my local area and really getting to know people farther in the industry, around the country, and even in other countries. I guess we had Canadians down there at least once.
Yeah, Doug Lockhart at least once.
Yeah, Doug Lockhart came down to at least one of them. I don't remember which one. I think probably the second one. But you and I have known each other quite a while, and obviously over the past few years, we've gotten to work pretty close together, but we've seen each other at a lot of events. And I was a longtime follower of TruTech because I was pre-TruTech even at that point, because TruTech was founded in 2007.
Yep, April 2007.
April 2007.
But the idea started kicking around at the end of 2006 with Jim and his dad. I really want to say it was around the holiday season, like late December, early January, as I recall.
Got together for the holidays, sitting around, kicking around ideas on the couch, watching football, I'm sure, probably.
What I recall is Jim's dad traveled with him. Jim was working part-time for Testo at the time. They went to Germany for some Christmas parties with Testo. And some of the German managers said to Jim's dad, hey, you should start an internet company selling Testo. And his dad's like, what? I'm trying to retire here. And his dad passed away in, I want to say 2016. So his dad's not with us anymore. But then they kicked the idea around. It got kicked off. A seed got planted. They kicked the idea around. And Jim and I, of course, were good friends from having worked at Testo together, maybe at that point for up to 6 years, maybe 4 or 5, 6 years. We worked closely together at Testo, and he ran the ideas by me. And I said, that's a great idea. I think it has legs. It's got to be a national business. It can't be just a little local shop. There's not enough business to do the specialty that we do.
Yeah. And as they say, the rest is history. But We're going to talk a little bit about some of that history today and some of the philosophies. As I've been around TruTech, I'm not so much involved with the day-to-day operations in the office because I sit remotely, of course. But I get to see TruTech from a different light, I think, than a lot of people do internally. I get to see it from that external view of a lot of our customers, talking to people in my travels and getting phone calls from people asking advice or what should I do here? What tools should I apply? Things like that. And looking at some of the philosophies that you've used over the years, I'm curious if there's anything that you've really thought about and put down on paper as some of the philosophies of running a business that have come to you.
I think I did actually. In last year at the ResNet conference, I did a presentation on running a small business. I might have termed it with mild success or successful small business, something like that. And then I collected a lot of my thoughts, and I don't have that presentation pulled up. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to riff off what's top of mind. I'm going to do that again this coming March at the ResNet conference and talk about running a small business with the objective of attracting and retaining good employees. Because I think that's what boils down to is a business. If you can have a format that's attractive, attract those employees, retain them, and have them serve the customer base well, that's poetry in motion, as they say.
That can be a big thing. Finding good employees is, I'll say, probably challenging for a lot of people right now from what I read in the news and hear from friends in this industry and many others.
Yeah. And actually, Facebook has something called the HVAC Owners Group. And I think both you and I are in it. Even though we're not HVAC company owners, we've been allowed in, and I think we contribute. And I think I learn from it, and I'm sure you do too. There was a post the other day about someone having a hard time laying down the law with zero tolerance or absolutes with certain things about the work that's being done. And he was lamenting over, but I can't get that out of everybody. I drop back to think about what I've learned over the last 5 years or so is that you need to have the qualities of the person has to be part of the hiring process, not just the execution of their job, but who they are at their heart. That goes back to, we created our core values when we got into this entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, which I've talked about before and continue to talk about a lot. But we have 4 core values, and we really try to make sure people know what they're getting into with us and what we can together get out of it, doing the work together.
With those core values in mind, what are some of the things that you look for in a person to align with those?
We try to do, like in the interview process, is ask situational questions, like paint a picture, what would you do? And then listen for answers that embrace the core values. So you have a customer flying off the handle. It was totally their fault. You just can't calm them down. What would you do? And if they lean into doing the right thing, taking care of the customer, maybe explaining things once or looking for any possible attribute in what we did that caused the problem to fix it next time for other people, being attentive to those details and letting other people know that that kind of interaction happened and how you took care of it, and not being afraid to speak up.
Some good stuff there. Just out of curiosity, what are those 4 core values?
Do the right thing, be a team player, get it done, and be attentive. And I can explain how those came about. You might know this, maybe the listeners have heard this before. I'll repeat it again, but we went through this, again, process called EOS. We paid an implementer to guide us for 2 years towards adopting these principles and techniques to run the business. And we started out, I think it was around 74, I actually have a picture of the whiteboard, 74 qualities. And the qualities came from, we had a room of 9 people, and each of us had to give, I think it was 3 qualities from 3 people that we would like to be like stranded on a desert island. Think of a certain person, and what are 3 qualities of that person and why? So we captured almost 80 of these qualities. And then EOS teaches another thing called keep, kill, combine. We looked to see if any of them had common threads. And we kept distilling and distilling and distilling and distilling until we got to 4. And that's how we ended up with those. So it comes from people thinking of, I would say, just like good actions in the world. And it's actually in this post that I replied to the other day, I just said, I didn't want to say like, go into a room with 9 people and spend 3 hours. No, I was just like, get your leadership team together and think of when people are doing a good job and you want to cheer about it, and what quality do they express when they did that good job. So that means, in a sense, it's already present in your company. You just have to extract it out. And then again, look for this keep, kill, combine, and keep on narrowing these things down to like, yeah, when we're on top of our game, that's the way we run. And let's make that closer and closer to 100% of the time.
Just keep chipping away at it a little bit at a time and moving forward towards that 100% goal.
Yeah. And then also, like you said before, write it down. That I've written anywhere of these philosophies. I think a lot of it has been ported into EOS in a way because of my high interest and commitment to investing in this, and the external training we received and the internal training we express to our staff members.
That's some good stuff there. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, more towards current years in the company. When I was hired in, you presented to me that you had a 5-year plan to ease your way out of the company. And I got to admit, that took me a little bit by surprise, because I don't hear very many people having a 5-year plan to leave a company that they own. I see a lot of people like, I'm just going to sell it and walk away, or maybe stick around for a transition for 6 months or a year or something like that. And it made me really think that and look at that and say, wow, Bill is proud of what he's built and he wants to have a good transition and leave behind a legacy of some sort, or leave something behind and make sure that it is solid even after he transitions 100% out. So can you talk a little bit about the mindset and what brought you to do that?
I've had this thought or phrase that I've used a lot, and it sounds maybe a little audacious, but I feel like we're woven into the fabric of the industry, what we do. We show up in a lot of different places and we help bind things together. And sometimes patterns make them look beautiful. So I think we can help contribute to the beauty and the pride that people have in their work. And I've heard different people say, TruTech helped me here, or getting to know Brian and Jim and Bill, it brought me back to the industry. I want to say even one time, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, Brian said to me, we need a company like yours in this industry. Made me feel like, don't go away. So it's like, oh, and we never like really asked people what they need. I think we've delivered what we thought was right and then listened for feedback. And I'll say we have quarterly meetings with the entire staff, and up to the last couple of years and up to the last one, I'd been launching them myself, and then the rest of the team speaks. And I always launch with recent reviews. And I just pull at random reviews off the top of the pack that have come in our review system. And the reviews are written for no compensation. People write the review because they want to write the review. And I copy those, and that says, we're doing the right thing if we get this kind of feedback on a voluntary basis. Someone took the 30 seconds, 2 minutes to write that, but they took the time to write that because they felt it was important.
So as you've been through this process now, because you're 2.5 years into your goal of 5 years?
Yeah, it was rough. I think what was important about the 5 years was it isn't 1 year and it isn't 10 or whenever. That's why I picked 5. And it isn't like exactly 60 calendar months. The other thing was, I do this thing, I call it my life hack. When I really know I'm supposed to get something done, I tell other people about it. And one factor about my personality is I never try to disappoint anyone. I'm a pleaser, as they say. So if I make a commitment, I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through and do it. So I get myself into situations sometimes because I commit to things. So that's why I said 5 years, a medium term amount of time, and it's going to happen.
Well, what were some of your goals then as you're working through that process for the company and for yourself too?
I did do some reading, and I have a small network of like other business owners that I've got to know over the years that I share privately things with, and they share with me. And again, like I said, some reading, some books and things like that, and some seminars, and just put it together. Like, I don't want to be the person that gets carried out of the business on a stretcher, because that does happen. Some people say they exit the business as they exit the world. And then other people say like, yeah, I'm thinking about retirement. And then they come back in every day. They really erode the process of the business, sort of redeveloping its new leadership, its new characters, things like that. Because I know like at every like major transition of a business, you have to pause and let things settle back in. And we've had that a few times at TruTech. And I know you're nervous the first time, but then once that works, it's like, yeah, it's going to work out. Just keep your wits about you.
Yeah, doing something similar repeatedly gives a lot more confidence in that process. It's like anything.
Yeah. And not even like it's not exactly similar. It's just like a big thing. And knowing that big things can be transitioned through. So like when Eric Preston and I bought out Jim and his dad, that was a big thing. That meant he wasn't in the business anymore. Jim wasn't in the business anymore. And he did a lot to get it to where it was at. And then recently, late last year, I bought Eric Preston out of the business. And he was in the business for a very long time. He did a lot for the business. And how's that going to flow after that point? So it's just taking a breath and saying things will go in this similar direction, but it'll be a little bit differently, run differently.
So what do you do when you run into problems in the business? What are some of the processes you might use to maybe sit back and think about those and figure out what steps to take next?
I'll say first, I'm human. We did talk about aliens before we started, but I'm not one.
Isn't that what an alien would say?
That's right. Wow. He's on to us.
Tell Elvis we said hello.
Yes. That's a good one. Sometimes it's like, first, like suppress any flashes of emotion. And then also think like it's 9 times out of 10, not like a direct attack on anyone or the business or anything. It's just a problem. And I use this phrase, I hope other people have heard it too, I'm sure, is ask why 5 times. As you do the 5 why process, you usually get down to what the root cause was. Sometimes you just can't address the symptom, you have to address the root problem. And by asking why thoughtfully again and again, you can usually get down to what it is. The other thing I try to express is we should get mad at the problem, not at the person, because usually they're in the midst of it too. They're the delivery vehicle. They didn't necessarily cause the problem. They're reporting it. And it's also like if we get mad at the problem, not the person, people are more likely to report the problem, to surface it. And then also having the core values is, I say, like, if you look at our core purpose and our core niche, the purpose is helping technicians create better environments for people. Niche is supplying HVAC and building performance products and education best practices. That's what we do. And we execute it by doing the right thing, being a team player, getting it done, being attentive. It's like any problem that comes to you, it's like, okay, was this part of our core business? And how can I express the core values? Is there something I need to be more attentive and dig into some of the details? Or what is the right thing? It's taking care of the customer because it's urgent right now. Just make sure they get taken care of. The paperwork, all that kind of stuff can come later.
Kind of gives employees a roadmap too when problems do arise to handle those problems.
Right. And usually before they get bumped up, then it's usually you're closest to the situation as the employee. And you can deal with it more quickly. And faster is always better, I think, for anything.
Yeah, I'd say for most things, especially taking care of customers, faster is always better. If faster was always better, you wouldn't have taken 5 years.
Right. Back to the 5-year thing.
Back to the 5-year thing. How do you feel that process is working for you and working for the business?
I decided that I wanted to bring the company back into family ownership to my ownership last year, and then transition part of the ownership to my son as he took over as president, which he did a couple months ago. But it's what I'm trying to do now is not be so much engaged in the day-to-day. In fact, trying to stay very little out of the day-to-day, but approach it more like I don't have to make a decision because it's not my role anymore. I'm more of an advisor. So if I see something, make a suggestion, pass along an idea, or sometimes bring up a little bit of history because of the time I spent in the market and the business that would be illuminating or help with the decision. But also just sitting back and saying, like, we've hired a team of people to do their thing. Pretty much now everybody understands their role. We give them the tools to do their role. It should be really a minor amount of exceptions that surface and I need to hear about.
So your official title in the company now is CEO. And Normally that's chief executive officer, but you took a little bit of a spin on the E a little while back that I'm curious about.
I did. I call myself chief education officer. And I'll tell you the reason why I did it, because I realized something about myself. And this is again like controlling the emotion thing, me being human, not alien. It's like, why don't they see it this way? Why don't they understand it this way? Why? And it's like, because A, they haven't experienced what you've experienced. They haven't gotten the same either life experience or education. And then why are you complaining? I ask myself. This is in my private moments. So I decided to flip that and say, like, why don't I take what I have learned and experienced and train people in the company? And it would reduce that situation where I say, like, why don't they understand? It's like, I'm going to help them understand beforehand. So I'm picking various topic areas to do employee training instead of getting frustrated with people that think you're not doing that right. It's like, no, here, let's train on it.
Pass along some of that knowledge, because obviously you've got a lot of years of knowledge in many varied aspects of business. And now you're passing that along, thoughtfully and purposefully passing it along, even more so than you've done throughout the years, because you've obviously done a lot of that throughout the years.
Right. But like you said, and now it's like distributed knowledge. It's pretty much anything that I train on. It's like anybody in the company want to attend, you can attend. You can take time. It'll happen during the workday, so you can take your time out of your role. We'll cover for you. If you have interest, come on over.
So there could be a lot of education there going out and a lot of knowledge going out. And I just thought that was really cool. I wanted to highlight that in here because one of my philosophies is that anybody today is probably standing on the shoulders of those who came before us.
Oh, yeah.
And passing down that knowledge to the next generation, to whatever, is important. And we've seen this for years in companies, in trades. It doesn't matter where. We lose institutional knowledge because maybe we've done something before. Maybe we've tried something before. And if it never gets passed down, then the next generation gets to repeat that lesson.
Yeah. And the other thought that I try to hold in my mind all the time is like I purposefully have stopped making presentations at conferences for the most part. And I have this notion of 2 words in my mind. It's make room, and it's make room for others. I really like the way what Brian Orr has done recently with the next HVAC school symposium, where he's got these little talks going on, calls them BRIX talks, like TEDx talks. I actually spoke with somebody yesterday who said, I got to put in an application for that. And then somebody else got asked to do something recently. I think it was Andrew Holden. And he says, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed this. Now I'm being asked to present on this topic because I have developed my knowledge there. So it's like make room for others. So that's one of my goals.
Very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of conferences and there's a lot of people to speak at a lot of conferences. And I get to hear the backside of that because being involved in going to the number of conferences that we do, a lot of times I'll hear the organizers and they're like, oh, we had 3 submissions for each classroom. So then they have to go through, and sometimes they do it by committee. Sometimes it's just by, this is what we're going to choose. A lot of different ways to shake that tree out. But a lot of these conferences get multitude of submissions. And I'm super happy to hear that. If you are one of those people that submitted and didn't get chosen or something like that, don't take it personally. The conference is trying to do the best that they can for their attendees. And maybe they just didn't have space. So don't stop submitting your sessions. Keep submitting those sessions. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next one up on stage talking about everything. Whatever that thing is that you are passionate about and you want to go talk about and share your knowledge. Because we see that, I see a lack of knowledge being passed down in a lot of areas. Was super happy and excited to see when you put that education piece in there, because I felt like that was a really awesome thing to be consciously doing. Because I know I've gotten to work with you and talk with you a number of times over the years and always walk away with something new in my brain and
Thank you for that.
thinking about something maybe in a different way.
You asked in part, like, what are you going to do now? I'm also spending some time with startups who are entering the industry and giving some advice and guidance and being a little picky or choosy about who it is, what their product is, and where they're going. and hoping again to serve the industry. And I said something to someone last week. I think it was Casey Murphy from Pearl. He had asked me, what are you going to do? He says, I can't see you retiring. And I'm like, this industry made me, so they own me. So they sort of got to decide when to get rid of me.
Once you get in, you can never get out.
Yeah, the Hotel California, right? But what I mean by the industry made me is the opportunity was there, and it just timing, attitude, opportunity, just a bunch of things just aligned with me starting way back in 1988, where working at Bacharach, and the sales and marketing team liked to hear me talk about technical stuff at their meetings or sales meetings. And then they invited me to go to different conferences and talk technical to customers. And that just blew open my world back then.
I had another thought in my head. Now it just exited stage left. So the broader industry that I hear you referring to here, I term that as the comfort industry. We talk about the HVAC industry, the building performance industry, the refrigeration industry. I think of that as the broader indoor comfort and or conditioning industry, whether we're conditioning for people, conditioning for food, whatever that might be. And in my mind, I really lump that into one large industry. Now it's got different silos under that, but encompassing, and this was kind of a goal you and I have talked about and we work towards with this podcast, is really trying to get to what are historically named as separate industries, which is like that building performance industry and that HVAC industry, trying to combine those and get them to work together, because realistically, they're one industry and the goal is to condition indoor spaces for people generally and or goods.
Yeah, you can't believe how much it thrills me to hear so many times those two things coming together in terms of people's businesses. And some businesses are just totally focused on that. And some businesses have incorporated the building science and the HVAC, and others, like we talked with Aaron Husak a couple of weeks ago. He went from building performance industry into HVAC and plumbing at one point in his career. So both paths can be traveled that way.
I'm really encouraged personally that we're seeing a lot more, especially HVAC companies that are doing the service and retrofits and things like that, embracing more of that building performance as they go into people's houses or buildings or businesses, whatever, and looking beyond the HVAC system and saying, hey, okay, you got a comfort problem. Let's solve this over here by doing something other than throwing a box, putting in a new piece of equipment. Maybe there's something else that would be a better solution for the customer, not just align with my core business of putting in HVAC systems.
The other thing that's going to occupy my time going forward, some of my time, is better HVAC. Really feel like that's got to happen. And for those of you not familiar with it, it's simply a directory, but you get in the directory by pledging to do good work or better work. And you can look at betterhvac.org to get all the details there. And the idea is to get around 1,000 professionals in the directory, and then to make a real push to have consumers use the directory. And it's all free. It's free for use by consumers, by professionals. And we also want to build in some educational resources for both professionals and consumers. On the consumer side, we think a better educated consumer makes a better customer. Eases a lot of tension. They know what they're looking for. They can perhaps filter things and understand good work will cost good money.
Prices have definitely not gone down in recent years. I saw some numbers recently from somebody that was talking about their absolute cost to put a truck in somebody's driveway on an hourly basis, and it astounded me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say dollar figures here because I know that changes all over the country and the world and wherever you're listening, but it was quite high. It was much, much higher than even I had expected, and I knew it wasn't inexpensive, but it was surprising.
Yeah.
I know the other thing I was going to ask you about, because in your spare time now, you're learning to play guitar.
Yeah.
What kind of music?
Rock. It's closet rock and roll band member. I mean, not closet, but I'd like to be. I'm not that good, anywhere near that good, but I would hope that someday I could get to feel comfortable playing with others, playing some music with others. May not be all that far off, but I'd like to spend more time daily on that.
Good for you. I will personally look forward to seeing you on stage with the Building Science Boogie Band.
That would be a thrill. I really would. And for those of you that don't know about that, there's a mixed troupe that appears at different building science-related conferences. Building Science Summer Camp. I've seen him at ResNet. Seen him at the Home Performance Conference. Didn't they do something at the TEC training seminar?
Yeah, they had an after-hours party at the TEC, the Energy Conservatory's building, after National Home Performance Conference when it was up in Minnesota. It was there in the Twin Cities. Yeah, TEC hosted that. But that's a neat group of people that's loosely associated. And I think they have a YouTube channel. They did some stuff on YouTube during COVID.
The Building Science Boogie Band.
Yeah, if you want to check that out.
There's several clips on there. Yep.
They take popular songs and possibly rewrite the lyrics to building science and HVAC.
I did make a pitch. One of the principals in that is Eric Whirling. He's now a consultant. He used to work for DOE and EPA. I did make a pitch from a summer camp to try to do it at the next HVAC school symposium.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Because they've got that indoor, doesn't have to be done outdoors. It could be done indoors at that center there.
Wonder if that's going to be a special event this year. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
If you don't have your ticket, I think there might still be some tickets still available for that. Check hvacrschool.com under symposium. If you're listening to this, I'm sure we can put a link in the show notes too.
Yeah.
You can come to Florida in January, where it's almost always warm. Most of the time, I don't think we've ever been down. Maybe one year was it really comfortable to wear pants. Most of the time, it's pretty warm down there, even in January.
Yeah.
Come on down, stop by the TruTech booth, and spend a couple days in warm Florida near Orlando. Get some education, hang out with a whole bunch of, I'm just going to say HVAC nerds, but really comfort nerds and refrigeration and of all kinds.
Yeah, home performance too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All kinds.
There's a lot of that involved in there now as the two industries, the two historically separate industries have woven themselves better together over time and hopefully getting ever closer.
Oh, cool. Thanks for the opportunity to spill my brains.
Well, thank you, Bill, for the opportunity to pick your brain a little bit and share that with the World Wide Web out there, as they say, because now everybody's going to hear this conversation.
It's just a conversation.
Exactly. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Bill. And I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Sounds good. Take care. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Building HVAC Science Podcast, a production of TruTech Tools Limited. In full disclosure, I'm the owner of TruTech, and the opinions expressed, this is kind of funny, are those of my guest, my co-host, or myself, which is everybody we just talked to today. So depending on who's speaking, of course. Hey, anyway, if you have any questions, want to suggest a topic, reach out to us at marketing@TruTechTools.com, TruTechTools.com, and just have a great day.